Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So we're doing the next spec in this limited look at some of the DPS specs in Prepatch. Today we're doing Feral Druid. So as a reminder, I'm not doing all DPS specs. We've hit both DK specs, we've hit both Warrior specs, and then we're doing Feral Druid and Windwalker Monk. So only 6 specs of DPS out of the 24 that are in the game, so only a fourth of them. So I just don't have time to get everything done before Shadowlands, and we're all going to be leveling and trying to get up to 60 as fast as humanly possible. So I wanted to talk about Feral Druid. As you can see, I have my talent build here, so I'll go over that first, and then we'll talk about how I felt about the spec. So in the 15 row, we have Predator. So Predator is really good because it allows you to have a lot of Tiger's Fury resets. Anytime a target dies with one of your bleed effects active on it, you'll get reset on that. And Tiger's Fury lasts an additional 5 seconds, so a much longer length Tiger's Fury, so big time damage amp. And then also getting a lot of resets on them, which is really good for Mythic Plus, where things are dying and you're taking another talent down the row, which we'll talk about in here in just a second, that really synergizes really well with this. If you're doing a raid situation, being pure single target, I choose Sabertooth. You get that little extension on your rip, and then you get a little bit more damage on your Ferocious Bite, so it just empowers your 2 finishers. 25 tier, I pick Wild Charge. I don't think anything else is viable on this row. I just don't see anything that is going to allow it to stand out against Wild Charge. It's just so good for mobility. 30 tier, really the only one to choose here is Balance Affinity for PvE and Mythic Plus and raiding in general. You get 3 extra yards on all of your abilities, which is really good because it allows you to stand a little bit further away. So if you need to dip out of the pack or you're trying to get back to a boss mob, you're going to be able to hit them just a second earlier than all of your teammates, which can sometimes make a difference rather in the damage that you're doing on a boss. And PvP, you might be using Guardian Affinity to get that Frenzied Regen and Incapacitating Roar, but for PvE situations, you're going to want Balance Affinity, even though you're not really using all of the Moonkin form, Star Surge, Starfire, Sunfire. Typhoon you will use, but the rest of them, I just don't see it. 35 row, a lot of the guys pick Heart of the Wild. If you, when you activate it, it does more stuff with your balance abilities. I think this will be good if you're spending a lot of time away from the boss. If there's a mechanic that requires it, for example, I'm thinking of older fights. So like this original Safety Dance fight, you would spend time away, but still wanted to DPS while trying to get that done. Then you would be able to go into balance form, pop Heart of the Wild, do significant damage. I chose Mighty Bash just because not really anything else here that I think is really good for Feral in this row. On the 40 tier, this is kind of the most interesting tier. You have Savage Roar, which is the one that I take. It just, every time you use a finishing move, you get 5 energy per combo point, so 25 energy at max combo point, and then you deal 5% extra damage on your finishing moves. So just a little bit of extra damage amp on the finishers, and then you get that energy regen, that 25 energy back, which is, you know, almost a full rake worth of energy. It's very passive, it's very easy to use, it's very efficient for your energy regen as well. So it's just a really strong talent. It's really good for general purpose. If you want something else to maintain on top of Rake, Rip, Thrash, and then also wanted to do a 4th dot, do true spinning plates gameplay with Savage Roar, then you can go that route. I don't see a situation where Savage Roar is going to be ideal to maintain while also trying to maintain everything else. It just leads to a lot of risky playstyle for a reward that I don't think is there. But you get, you know, more damage, more energy regen while in cap form. You get it at 36 seconds on 5 combo points, so it's a pretty decent time to have that effect. Incarnation King of the Jungle, I wish was good. I kind of wish it was the baseline cooldown for Feral Druid, but I just don't see it ever being a place, especially when Soul of the Forest is here. Incarnation is more of a burst damage ability. Might be good in something like PvP, but I don't see where it's ever going to find a place in PvE as long as it's on the same row as Soul of the Forest. I just don't see it. 45 row, never pick Scent of Blood. It's trash. It needs to be scrapped. Primal Wrath is really good for Mythic Plus because of the big AoE potential. You do a little bit of upfront damage and then apply a rip for 12 seconds to all targets. This is not target capped either, so if you pull 20 mobs, you're applying rip to 20 targets. Really good boost to your damage. Well, all enemies within 11 yards, 8 yards if you don't have Balance Affinity. So definitely recommend this talent for Mythic Plus situations. It's just very good. You can even spam it to get that upfront damage and then do the rip. Apologies there. Brutal Slash is good for single target. It's just a really energy efficient combo point builder. So if you're doing Rake, Thrash, Brutal Slash, that's going to be a little bit more energy efficient than a 40 energy Shred, because you use 40 energy on Thrash, 35 on Rake, and then another 25 here, so you're only using 100 energy, so full mana bar or full energy bar worth, whereas you're using 115 in the normal 3 different combo point builders, so it's a little bit more energy efficient and single target to take Brutal Slash. Blood Talent is the only talent on the 50 row that is numerically solid right now. When you use 3 different combo point generating abilities within 4 seconds, you get a 30% damage increase on your next 2 rips or ferocious bites. This is a pretty overhauled version of what it was in Battle for Azeroth, where you'd use regrowth and your next 2 damaging abilities would deal 30% increased damage. It was a little bit of a degenerate gameplay. I like this Blood Talons a little bit better. I'm still not totally happy. I'm personally still a huge fan of Moment of Clarity, where you just get 50% more free builders with Shred, Thrash, and Swipe, or Brutal Slash in that case. And you can accumulate up to 2 charges of it, and then it does even more damage on those abilities. So it's not so much a finisher focused ability, it's a builder focused ability, but it doesn't have any other synergies inside the tree. So unfortunately, it just doesn't have anything there that is going to be effective for it. So what do I think of Feral? Feral is one of the more difficult gameplays styles in World of Warcraft. I think it's now pretty much on par with Unholy Death Knight in terms of melee. That is just difficult to play. It is difficult to play. It is difficult to master. Those that can play Feral really, really well are going to shine quite brightly in terms of a pure damage perspective. My biggest concern about Feral is the fact that we still have a very bleed heavy focused build, and there's not really like a Shred Bite build that is really going to be effective again. So talents feel extremely one note. The other thing too is that Feral's utility is really limited. Stampeding Roar was one that you would maybe want to look into, but now with all druids bringing that ability, it really cut the legs out from underneath Feral as a spec that needs something. I really wish that maybe Feral would be the spec that would get the Mystic Touch ability as well. When a bleed is active on the target, they deal 5% more damage, or everyone deals 5% more damage. There's some really, really strong synergies across a few specs with that. I would really like to see something like that happen, but if anything like that happens, it's not going to happen until 9.1, unfortunately. So that said, I still find Feral to be pretty fun. It's nice to have some challenging specs in Unholy and Feral that I have found a lot more fun than I expected. It can sometimes be a little bit Havoc feeling, but once you start to get an idea of what the rotation feels like and you get the keybinds in the right place for you, I think you'll find a lot of fun in Feral, especially if you like the power fantasy, which I do. I love the shape-shifting fantasy of Druid. Feral is definitely a spec that I could see myself playing in a raid situation, definitely pushing a Mythic Plus with it as well, if I wasn't having to tank. So I think Feral is a good spec. I think that Borrowed Power and there's some fundamental changes that need to be happening with the utility kit are definitely going to be needed. But I'm worried that we won't see any of that until 9.1 at the earliest, sadly. So Feral Druid is really good. You're going to have to get over a community perception issue, but if you can play it really, really well, I think you're going to have quite fun with it. So anyways, guys, let's move on to the dungeon run so you can see some of the gameplay in action. This is a +9 Waycrest Manor, so just shy of the Awakened debuff. This was a fairly decent run. I think we only had 1 death in it. So definitely get you on over to that video, and we'll see you on the other side. So see you. Level 9, here we go. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, just took a ton of melee damage all at once. I was doing good on damage too. I did alright, I guess, on damage there. Oof. Tank lost threat. He pulled too big. Oh boy. Why are you doing this? Jesus Christ, that pull. I did all right. This guy likes to play with some fire, doesn't he? I don't know why you keep doing this. I like how this dude was like, we got no time, fuck it's mana, and I'm like, dude, we have all the fucking time. Oh, I should use Primal Wrath there. It's alright, we're down to just a couple targets. Oh, I didn't. Like we all tried for that. Didn't work out there. So this is fun to play. It's a little hectic at times, but it is fun to play. This should give us a big chunk, and then the ghouls after that should finish us out. Oh, it's my cat. the stuns. God. Fucking kidding me. Alright, and welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed that dungeon run, that +9 Waycrest Manor. So, again, to wrap up my final thoughts on Feral Druid, the quick short version is that I think it's a very good spec. It's a fun spec to play. There are definitely some things about it that are very tricky and will take some practice and time to manage. But if you really like the idea of a cat bleeding an enemy to death, Feral definitely nails that fantasy very well. And I think it's going to be a spec that if you're not in the cutting edge content, it's going to perform a lot better than many people think. That said, you definitely are going to have to get over a community perception issue that Feral is kind of a meme spec right now. People don't see it as a viable spec, even though it really, really is. So anyways, that's my thoughts on Feral Druid. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the video. Hit the notification bell for get notified when I put out new content. I'll be putting this video out, and then not long after this will be the Windwalker video. So that'll be the next spec that we do, is Windwalker Monk. So until then, everyone, I hope you all stay safe. I hope you all wear your mask, and I will see you all next time.